Hey everybody, this is part 2 of The Secret Treasure Hunt, Image 12, Verse 10, New York. If you haven't seen the last one, click the link here or click the link down in the description. Go check it out. You won't understand where we're starting from if you don't go watch that. But if you're familiar with the New York one, then go ahead and watch. So in the last one, we discussed Lower Manhattan. This time we're looking at Brooklyn. So we're just going to start right here with the Verrazano Narrows Bridge going into Brooklyn. It has similar features to the archway here. Also, the first verse reads, "In the shadow of the Gray Giant." So the Gray Giant could be the Verrazano Narrows Bridge. The Statue of Liberty isn't actually gray. A lot of people think that this might be referring to the Statue of Liberty, and that's what we discussed last time. But at the same time, the Statue of Liberty isn't actually gray. It's copper, so it's either copper colored or it's green after time. The Verrazano Narrows Bridge is gray, and it ends up right here at Fort Hamilton Army Base. So the next line of the verse, "Find the arm that extends over the slender path." Like we discussed, the Verrazano Narrows Bridge ends up right here at Fort Hamilton Army Base. So a possible solution is the arm is the Army base. I don't like that solution a whole lot. I'm not sure exactly what the arm is here, or the slender path. The slender path could be the bridge. The slender path could be a road going under the bridge that leads over to John Paul Jones Park right here, which is what our solution is going to be. So there are a few possibilities of what the arm and the slender path could be. Go ahead and leave some comments down below and let me know what you think the arm could be here and the slender path. In the summer, you'll often hear a whirring sound. This is obviously an army base right over here, so in the summer there are a lot of helicopters going around. This could be the whirring sound, but in the summer doesn't make a whole lot of sense because you would also hear that in the winter. But the whirring sound could definitely be helicopters arriving and leaving the base. Cars abound. Obviously there's a highway right here, so there are a lot of cars. I still think that this cars abound really just steers you off of Ellis Island or Liberty Island, just saying, you know, this isn't where it is. It's going to be somewhere in New York where there are a lot of cars. When you're standing in John Paul Jones Park, you're obviously right next to the highway, so there are cars going by. You can obviously hear all of this traffic. Although the sign nearby speaks of Indy's native. Indy's native here is believed to be Alexander Hamilton, as discussed before. So we're right here next to Fort Hamilton Army Base. So this is the sign nearby. It's next to the base. It's not at the base, but it's next to the base. So although the sign nearby speaks of Indy's native, we're not necessarily there. We're just going to be next to there at John Paul Jones Park. The natives still speak of him hard word in 3 volumes. Again, this one I still don't know. There are solutions out there. Go check them out. Leave comments. Let me know. Somebody tell me what this means. Take twice as many steps as the hour or more. The hour is 11 o'clock. Some people think it might be a little off from that, but it looks like 11 o'clock. And steps are either footsteps, how many steps, how many paces, whereas in the Milwaukee one it could be stairs. So 22 steps or more, something close to that. From the middle of one branch of the V. So if you're taking 22 steps from the middle of the branch of a V, obviously here in the park there are several V's. Over here on this side of the park is the Alexander Hamilton Cannon. It might have something to do with this, since this is a memorial and has Alexander Hamilton's name. It could be a V right here with the sidewalks, and you take 22 paces from that. So there are a lot of V's around here, so you'd probably have to be on the ground and go and look at it and figure out where that could be. Also, I would like to point out that in the image there is this rectangle, and also over on the World War I Dover Memorial there is this rectangle that I think matches up really nicely. Back to the verse. From the middle of one branch of the V, look down and see simple roots in rhapsodic man's soil, or gaze north toward the Isle of B. Look down and see simple roots in rhapsodic man's soil. So this is John Paul Jones Park. John Paul Jones was a Scottish immigrant and became known as the father of the American Navy. He fought the British and the Continental Navy in the American Revolution. So he was well-known, well-respected, Scottish immigrant, and this park is named after him. So John Paul Jones, the Led Zeppelin bassist, would refer to the rhapsodic man in this scenario, in this solution, right? That on its own doesn't make a whole lot of sense, I don't think, right? I don't think that Byron Preiss would be referring to the basis of Led Zeppelin. He may be, maybe he's a Led Zeppelin fan, I don't know. But a lot of people think that the solution, the rhapsodic man, is George Gershwin. He's a New Yorker, wrote Rhapsody in Blue, and that is a much better solution than than John Paul Jones, the bassist for Led Zeppelin. Except that this solution isn't for John Paul Jones, the bassist for Led Zeppelin, right? It's for the Scottish immigrant. And the Rhapsodic Man just shares a similar name and is just a clever clue. So in this solution, Byron Preiss isn't actually referring to the bassist for Led Zeppelin. He's referring to a Scottish immigrant that actually became the father of the American Navy, and he's just using the Rhapsodic Man, the Led Zeppelin bassist, as a clever clue. I really like that solution. He's referring to this Scottish immigrant, but he's just using the bassist for Led Zeppelin as a clue to get you there. So again, if you're talking about the bassist for Led Zeppelin, it's not nearly as good as George Gershwin, but if it's just a clever way to get you to the Scottish immigrant that took over the American Navy, then I think it's a really good clue. Gaze north towards the Isle of Bee is gazing north. North from this location is Liberty Island, which used to be called Bedloe Island. One of the problems with this solution is that there's not a lot of imagery here at John Paul Jones Park. There's the rectangle, there's the bridge. The verse almost entirely covers John Paul Jones Park. I think it's a really good match for the verse. There isn't a lot of imagery here, and also from the park you can't actually see like the Statue of Liberty. I think that's a problem, but I think that problem is also made up for with the first line in the verse that's in the shadow of the gray giant. That tells us that, like, if that is the Verrazano Narrows Bridge, I think that's okay. You don't have to see Ellis Island or Liberty Island, because what it's actually referring to is the gigantic bridge right here that's overlooking the park. I would also like to point out one more location. That's the Lion Court over here that has the image of this lion crest. This is very close to John Paul Jones Park, but it's also near the second location that I want to talk about. And I'm just going to throw this one in briefly. So the second location here is the Fort Hamilton Triangle. It's near the Lion Court. The reason that I bring this up is because there's the Hamilton Memorial right here that has this eagle on top. And it's also a triangle, so it has a V. There's not a whole lot here that matches up with it. There's no shadow of a gray giant, and the verse doesn't match up. There's not a lot of imagery other than the eagle. Also, it's very inland, so you can't see out, so it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But there are just a few things that match up. It has the V, you know, if you go halfway up, 22 paces from here is going to put you out in the middle of the street, so if you go looking for it, maybe it's not. So I don't think this is a great solution, but I've seen it out there, and it's a really small park, so I think, if somebody in New York just went and checked it out and prodded around there, I'm sure that people have, but it's just a second location that's really near there, so if you were going to go check this out, maybe just take a stroll over there and see what it's like. There's also the solution over here on the coast. A lot of people said that Byron Preiss went to high school right over here. He didn't. So this solution doesn't make a whole lot of sense. However, if you can find things that match up with this, I know some people look at the image and see a baseball diamond here, and there are several baseball diamonds over here on the coast. If you were to go, so if you were over here in Brooklyn looking around, go check out this area also. From this location, I also believe that you could see the Statue of Liberty. For me, in Brooklyn, John Paul Jones Park is where it's at. It's the best spot. It's in the shadow of the Gray Giant. It's right across from Fort Hamilton Army Base. A lot of the verse matches up there. There are a few pieces of the image that match up there. So to wrap this up, there are two main areas that I like for the New York solution. There is the southern Manhattan with Battery Park and Bowling Green Park. Bowling Green Park, I think, is a really good solution, but mostly I think that the John Paul Jones Park in Brooklyn is the best solution for this. There are also people that think that Upper Manhattan, there are some areas up there, and those are all, just as good as the solutions that I have, right? I don't know where it is. I haven't found it. But in my opinion, I just think that these are really good spots. These are really good solutions. If you want to post your solutions in the comments, go ahead and do it. This is for everyone to post their solutions and everything like that. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave those comments. Thanks for watching.